Welcome to the Age Group Multisport podcast, the podcast that allows age groupers to share their stories. Welcome along to AMP with me, Richard Conway. Hope you're all doing well, and if you've been racing over the weekend, hope you got the result you desired. And if you're training, well, hope it's going well. On this episode, we're going to speak to Anne Dockery, who got in touch after listening to several of our other podcasts and being inspired to share her own story. And it's quite a journey. It was great to chat to Anne and find out actually how she got into the sport from running when she was living over in America after a friend of hers said that she should have a go at triathlon. So she did, and she's never looked back. She's a multiple medal winner at her age group, which she won't mind me saying is she races in the 75 to 79 age group, and that's all the more inspiring. So I hope you enjoy our chat, and definitely will inspire you, no doubt about that. So that's coming up. There's been another qualification race over the weekend up in Northumberland, which was carried out in horrific conditions apparently. Really windy and wet. They had to change the run course to the beach, and by all accounts it was one of the toughest races that people have done. So well done if you've done that, and a particular well done to Robert Myler and Ross Crombie. Rob was on episode 74 and Ross was on episode 48, check them out, who took part in the standard duathlon, and Rob qualified for his age group. I'm not sure about Ross yet, but he finished 7th overall in his age group, so he did really well in those conditions, and Rob had mentioned that it was the hardest one he's ever done, so well done if you raced. If I missed any of our previous guests who also raced there, do apologise. And also, while we're on the subject of guests, Mick Skivington from episode 88 and Reynold Brennan from episode 93 were taking part in Xterra Malta. For those of you who don't know what Xterra is, it's a series of off-road triathlon and duathlon races all around Europe. And this one's held in Malta, like I said, in the Magistral Natural Park and Golden Bay, and they both podiumed, so well done and congratulations to the pair of them. Awesome results. And there's been quite a bit of sport to watch over the weekend as usual, and Ironman 70.3 at Oceanside was pretty good to watch. We found a live stream on Outside Magazine, and sat and watched it as the incredible Lionel Sanders, in his first race of the season, took the victory, and Sam Long, he came in second with Braden Curry following up in third. That was the podium. And Brit Joe Skipper, he finished in 10th place, and by all accounts he was quite happy with that. He prefers the longer distance, the full, to the 70.3, so not a bad race to start the season for Joe, and hope he has a good season. Nice to watch him and follow him on social media. And in the ladies, Taylor Knibb just completely dominated. I think she had nearly 12 minutes over the next best placed athlete, which was Emma Pallant-Brown, who finished second, and third place was taken by Paula Finley. So it was a good race, but Taylor Knibb, look out for her in the Olympics, because she's going to be hard to beat. She can do anything and everything. She's so strong. So yeah, that was good to watch. And for those of you who've listened to this podcast before, you know I love cycling, and been lots of cycling on. Starting off with a tour of the Basque Country where it was absolute chaos. One corner wiped out 3 Tour de France potential winners this year, with broken ribs, broken collarbones, broken scapulas, punctured lungs. Oh, it was just horrendous and horrific. I've been watching cycling a long time, and I don't think I've ever seen a crash like it. So that wasn't good to see. On a more positive note, Paris-Roubaix was on Sunday, and both the ladies and the men's races were again incredible. Um, Two world champions won Paris-Roubaix. In the ladies, Lotte Kopecky, she won in a sprint once they got into the velodrome in Roubaix. She won the ladies' sprint. Second place was Elisa Balsamo, the Italian sprinter. And third was Pfeiffer Georgie from GB. And there was some great footage of Pfeiffer Georgie when she realised that she'd actually got a podium place. It was great to see. And over in the men's, Mathieu van der Poel just dominated again from 60k out. He just went, and everybody else were just looking at each other. And before they knew it, he'd got a minute, then he got 2 minutes, and it was just a fantastic team event there by Alpecin. His teammate Jasper Philipsen got second in the sprint, and Mads Pedersen from Lidl Trek rolled out third. So, yep, really enjoyed that. And then coming up next weekend, we've got the start of the indoor triathlons again. So, looking forward to that as well. Personally, got a couple of runs in last week. Got a treadmill run just for 10 minutes just to see how things were working out. And then I went to the track on Saturday and just took it really, really easy while the guys were doing their set. But yeah, it was feeling okay. So hopefully this is the start of things to come. Get back running. Still been doing some swimming and some biking and strength and yoga and the usual. Although the swimming's getting a bit hindered these days as the kids are off for a fortnight. But we work around it. And yeah, so that's good. All good. Going in the right direction. Still haven't put in for any races yet, but we'll just see how things go and take it week by week. And just one final thank you to all the age groupers who've submitted videos for our YouTube channel, AMP GB, and they're on there and they're getting some good hits, good views. So if you want to head over there and see what the guys have been up to, the videos they've been putting up, training and racing. And yeah, if you like what you see, please do subscribe to the channel and spread the word. If you've got any questions or comments, just leave them in the comments box. And if you'd like to submit some video footage of what you're currently doing, especially if you already put it on Instagram, yeah, just send us over a DM and we can get that put on as well. And you too can inspire others, which is what the age groupers are doing. So thank you once again for all those videos. And it's now time for the main event. So hope you enjoy Anne's story. I'm sure you will. It was a great chat. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and welcome along to AMP. And if you'd like to introduce yourself to the listeners, that would be great.
Okay, right. So I'm Anne Dockery. I live in Bristol. I'm 75 years old, nearly 76. I was born I was born actually in Cheltenham and brought up in Fleetwood, Lancashire, which is my hometown, though I haven't been there in a very long time. I was one of those children that never got in a team. I tried very hard. I went for everything that they did, and I ended up as the games captain. The games secretary. I had to send off all the cards and arrange things, but I never actually got to play. So that was a bit sad. But I was always fairly active because we always cycled everywhere. We didn't have cars way back when. So going to school, cycling, going everywhere else was cycling. Sorry, I'll turn that off. And walking everywhere. So, a good basis. I went to drama school in London and had an amazing time in the 60s. All that went on there, didn't do anything sports-wise, absolutely nothing. I was nowhere near it. And then eventually met my first husband, and he was a squash player. So I took up a bit of squash, which I absolutely loved, and it was just an amazing game. And I did that for some years. And then long story, but eventually I ended up going to America to marry an American. This was my second marriage, obviously. I've had quite an exciting life, really. Um, and prior to going over, I'd been a very heavy smoker. When I say it was the 60s, it was this, it was smoking and everything and what have you. And I had several bouts of pneumonia. I had lots of attacks of bronchitis. I was a teacher, and so you got all the germs coming at you. And eventually I was diagnosed with something called bronchiectasis, where the little bubbles in your lungs sort of collapse a little. So when I married my husband, Mike, and I went to America, he said, well, if you've got bad lung, you ought to run. I thought, run? No, thank you, boring. But I thought, oh, well, it might do me good. So I started running, and I ran in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I'd moved to. And that's when I first of all realized about the community.
Mm.
I didn't know anybody apart from my husband and one or two teachers I'd met. I was in my 50s, and that's when my whole start of a whole new life began. I got to know a running group of people led by a gentleman, and they were all running for leukemia. So they were all going for marathons, which I'd never ever dreamt that I would do, and I had never have done, I have to admit. But what a group of people. And we met every Sunday, whatever the weather, in all sorts of clothes and this, that, and the other, and off we went running. And from there, my husband one day said, oh, you ought to do a race. So he put me in a race, and I went and ran this race, terrified that I'd actually managed to get to the end of 5K, But I did, and I won a little prize, and that was it. So from then on, I was into running. And for a long time, I ran. I ran a lot in the States. I moved to Florida, and we had a wonderful group called the Space Coast Runners. And, everybody, there'd be water put out along the 10-mile route in Melbourne, so that all the runners could go, and you'd stop at the various stops because it was so hot.
Mm.
And that was every week we had this wonderful run. And I kept going with the running. I had a friend. By this time, this is 10 years later, I had a friend, Willie Molinar, who was 70, 71, 72 at that time, I would think. She was a cancer survivor. She was this amazing lady. Oh, Anne, you must do a triathlon. No, I can't do a triathlon. Don't be daft. I can't hardly swim. Oh, no, you have to do a triathlon. So I entered a triathlon. It was called the Pineapple Man, and it was at Melbourne Beach, Florida, which is where I lived. And you went in off the pier and paddled around in the water. I practiced and practiced. I can't believe now how terrified I was. I managed to get my swimming far enough, so I swam, and of course it was beautiful. I mean, it was hot and the sunshine, and so I managed to get through the swim and come out, and I was riding my husband's big bike. I didn't happen to have a decent bike at the time, and I cycled off and did the cycle ride, and people threw water at us and this. And then, of course, I came to the run. So, of course, once I came to the run, I knew I was going to finish. And I romped around that 5K. I was like a little spring chicken. And I got to the end. Oh, what a feeling.
Mm.
I mean, it was just wonderful. I think I won first prize because there weren't many people in my age group. I was, 63 then?
Right.
My
Okay.
first triathlon.
That was your first triathlon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just going back to swimming, did you just take it upon yourself, or did you get some coaching to help you with the swimming for that triathlon? How did that?
No, I could swim the breaststroke,
Yeah.
as we were all taught when I was at school. You swam the breaststroke, so I could swim the breaststroke, and I managed that.
Right.
But then, following on from doing this triathlon and realizing I would like to do more, I did start trying to get better at swimming. As it happened, my then husband had been a swimmer,
Oh, okay.
but he really didn't help me very much. He just used to shout at me and say, "Move your arms faster."
Mm.
But there you go. So I actually yeah, just went to a local pool and kept trying. And then I came back to visit my daughter in England, and she used to go to a coach at a wonderful swim pool in oh dear me, not Crouch End. It's near Camden Town. There's this wonderful swim pool, and this amazing coach was there. So, as my birthday present, she bought me an hour's lesson. I nearly died. I mean, an hour of being coached in swimming when you're not very good at it. My arms were dropping off. I learned so much. I mean, I've never been a good swimmer, and I most never will be, but I learned how to do the crawl that day.
Sure.
And then I went home and practiced. I am so slow. I'm always the last one out of the water. Um, so, yeah, swimming is my difficulty. Um, but it's actually quite nice because people over here keep telling me, well, you have to swim in a pool. I said, I've never swum in a pool for a triathlon. I've never heard of it. You wouldn't dream of it. You know, in Florida, you swim
No.
in the ocean or you swim in the lagoon or wherever. Um, it would be useless for me to swim in a pool because I turn around so slow. But swimming in the ocean, it was just wonderful and I loved it. And the nice thing was that it's one of these things, as I say, everybody's so helpful.
Mm.
So there was a little group who used to swim a mile down the beach every Sunday in the summer months. And they said I could go along, and I was always paddy last. I didn't always swim a mile because being in the water with the sharks isn't very nice when you're all by yourself.
I was just about to say, was there any conflict with sharks, and did you ever come across any when you were swimming in the sea?
I never actually saw them when I was swimming, but you know they're about.
Mm.
I did once nearly bump into a manatee, which scared the daylights out of me because I thought it was a shark. But no, I never. I did have one friend who had his hand bitten by a shark, and it was quite a common occurrence that you heard of people. But it certainly, yes, yes, I didn't stay in the water on my own. But I learnt a lot, and I used to love it. This Sunday morning swim,
Hmm.
uh, yeah. But I never got any faster.
Yeah. Well, it's such a difficult thing, if you don't start when you're really young to get
Mm,
technique, it's such a
yes.
difficult thing to grasp and learn because it's so technical, isn't it?
Oh, yes,
So
yes,
so
yes.
technical. You've got so much to think about, hand placement, breathing, kicking, body position. It's just it goes on and on and on, doesn't it? And yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm not the greatest of swimmers, but it's just about persevering, isn't it? And doing the best you
Yes,
can, and
yes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's good. So you got your obviously you got your background in running, and then you got into your swimming. What about the bike? How did that progress? Because obviously your
Oh,
first one was on your husband's bike, wasn't it? So
it was, and I mean, really, my biking didn't get. I mean, I got a bit better, but it wasn't really till I came back over here and started taking it a bit more seriously that I got into it because I did some biking in Florida, but obviously
mm,
it's very flat where I was, so the only hill you had was over the bridge
mm,
and things like that. Um, and really, it was so hot most of the time that going for a cycle ride wasn't necessarily enjoyable.
sure.
In the winter months, it was, as long as there are no hurricanes about. Um, but yeah, so my biking has improved since I got more serious about it.
Yeah.
I had a decent bike over there, and I did cycle, and I used to cycle at every opportunity when it wasn't too hot. But I wouldn't say I worked at it. I mean, I did really just concentrate. My running got me through most things,
Hmm.
even though swimming and biking wasn't that brilliant.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it now.
Yeah. So how many triathlons did you do in total before you moved back?
Oh gosh, I must have done about a dozen. There
Yeah.
were a lot over there.
Mm,
In Florida, there were,
yeah.
you had the Cocoa Beach Triathlon, the Melbourne Beach Triathlon, so there were a lot of them.
Mm,
I did one middle distance one, which wasn't because it only had a short swim.
right.
but it had the 10K run and the long bike ride. But I wouldn't have entered it if it didn't have the long swim as well.
Yeah.
But I was fine, you see, on the run and everything. I was okay. So yeah, I mean, they were great fun over there. I wasn't I wasn't trying to do anything grand, but I did have this thought at one time about, could I possibly represent Great Britain? And it became a dream. That's it. I don't know why I was so bold as to even think of it. But I started looking at people's times, and some of the women that I was, knew had entered for America. And I went to an American competition and came sixth in my age group, despite my swimming. So I thought, well, maybe. So this was what, 2017. And I noticed that it was coming up in Mexico. I'd always wanted to go to Mexico. And I thought, I wonder. So I was going back to visit my mum in Ilkley, and I looked for a qualifying. I didn't, in those days you had to sort of qualify almost at the same year as you were.
Yes, yeah, they changed it, didn't they? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I found which one was that one? That was Saint. Was that no? That was the second one I did in England. I went over and I qualified at I think it was the Dorney. Was it the Dorney? Yeah, the Dorney Sprint Triathlon in 2016. That was when I qualified for it. So it must have been the next year. I mean, it was just amazing. I only just managed because of my slow swimming. And of course, the water was cold. It was only the second time I'd worn a wetsuit. The first time was a total disaster. It took me 7.5 minutes to get it off. I came last in that race. So yes, I did the Dorney thing, and I came in last, and I nearly caught up. I had a friend at this particular race, and I said, when the other ladies in my age group go past, check their time and see how much time I've got to make up. And this is when the running comes in. As I went past, I was told that the best lady was 10 minutes ahead of me on the 5K. I nearly got her.
Wow.
It was right on her tail by the time we got to the end, because my running was so much better.
Sure.
And of course, once I got to the running, I'm like,
hey. Yeah. That's the strength coming
it's
through.
A wonderful feeling. So I went and I joined everybody. Didn't know anybody, but I joined everybody. Actually, I knew more Americans in Mexico than I did, which was nice. We had this amazing hotel. Oh my gosh, it was to die for. I mean, wow. It had, a sort of huge hot pool in the middle of your room. And oh, gracious me. And all the fish in the ocean when you went in, gorgeous things all over the place. Who was thinking about swimming? You're watching the fish. And my friend Willie, the one that had coached me, was there. So off we set on the day. We had to remember the night before, we were told, make sure your tyres are let down a bit because it's hot. And and sure enough, the next day we saw lots of people tearing their hair out because their tyres had burst. We had to wait around an extra long time for something or another. Off we went. So I'm in the swim, and there's a big buoy, as they call them in America, out there. It just doesn't seem to be getting much closer. I've been out there a while and I've got a bit near. Anyway, I put on this big spurt. I get round the other side, but I know that this has taken me an incredibly long time. I'm not tired. I'm okay. I can keep going. And then these little boats start coming round. Out, out. What do you mean out? I'm not getting out. I'm swimming. I'm okay, thank you. I'm not drowning, So anyway, eventually they pulled me out, or made me get out of the water after I battled them for a bit. It turned out that there was some strong current had suddenly come in. I didn't know this at the time. I was spitting blood. How dare you take me out after all my training?
You thought it was a cut-off? Did you think it was a cut-off time?
I did, and I think it was as well.
Right.
But I forgot to mention before this that I had spent 3 months going twice a week to a master's program of swimming
Mm.
I didn't get any faster. So when they pulled me
But
out of the
you'll
swim,
have got stronger, and you'll have got, more.
I think so.
Your
Yeah,
aerobic system would have been a lot stronger, wouldn't it? Even if you're not getting faster, you're getting fitter, aren't you?
bitter. That's true. That's true. But you can imagine I was so cross being pulled out of the swim,
Yeah,
and I saw the referee, and I said, "I'm going to finish." He said, "Oh yes." So they
yeah.
let me finish the course.
They're
Um,
not.
in fact, they would, but I was, and what an amazing experience. So I go out on the bike course and I'm pedaling along, I know very little about technique or anything like that. This Aussie lady comes up behind me, "Hey, let's draft together." I said, "I don't know how to draft." "Oh, I'll teach you." So we're on this course. She was so strong. I mean, I had to let her go eventually, but we practiced drafting and had a chat, and it was very nice. Then when I came through to the run, of course, here I go, and I'm bouncing off, and I came across this Brit. Now it was really hot, but I was used to heat. I'm
Mm,
from Florida, you
sure.
know? So I came across a Brit athlete who was really struggling and saying, "I don't think I can carry on." I said, "Oh, yes, you can." So, and this is where it becomes all part of it. I kept going. Every time we came near water, I got water and poured it all over her until she suddenly said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then I went off and left her. But you know, it was worth doing it because she was so happy. I think she got some kind of medal at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and after I'd got over, I had about 2 hours where I was pretty grumpy, very grumpy. And when I realized it was a safety issue, well,
Yeah.
that was it. I mean, you can't complain. It
No,
was, it
that's
was,
it. It's one of those things,
and I
isn't
tell you what, I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
it? Fab.
It
Fantastic.
was wonderful.
Just going back, how did you find out about age group competition?
I think I was looking mostly when I was in America, I was looking at runners over here.
Right.
Um, and through looking at the runners, I began to see age group stuff for them. And then gradually I went on. And as I say, of course, I knew the Americans did it.
Mm,
So I think my memory doesn't serve me well here, but I think I just looked it up
right.
and went from there.
Yeah. How did you find looking it up and getting the information about age group? How was that process for you? Did you find it difficult?
I found it quite hard to begin with. I did do one before I did this qualifier. I did do one at St. Neots. I
Mm,
went off, I think it was the weekend of my 65th birthday.
mhm.
And I'd never done, this was my first triathlon in England. Um, and I discovered I needed a wetsuit. So I bought a wetsuit. I had one try of it in the hot swimming pool and thought I was going to die. And then 2 days later, I went off to St. Neots. Um, and it was so cold, and there's all these ducks in the river pooping, and the dogs in the river pooping. And I was thinking, oh my gosh. Um, anyway, I got in the water, remembered to pull it up, and oh, the cold air came in. And of course, I didn't know anybody.
Mm,
So what I found was everybody was helping me. I mean, you do this and you do that and you do the other. Oh, people were so kind. I mean, I don't know how I had the nerve actually to go and do this thing, but once you've got all these lovely helpers and advice and do, and anyway, it was wonderful. So I get in the water, I'm swimming away and think, oh, I'm not doing too badly here. I know I'm last, but that's okay. Go around the bend, chugging along. And of course, behind us came the 40-year-olds. It was like being a minnow, amongst all the tarpon. They were over you, under you, through you, everywhere. I was, "Ah." But I mean, who can blame them? I mean, they're in a race. Then
yeah. Yeah,
you're in
yeah,
the way entirely. I mean, I don't blame them at all, but it was a bit scary. But
sure.
I just kept going and stayed afloat. And of course, when you're in a wetsuit, you're not worried about drowning. You're going to be all right. So eventually I get to the end. I could hardly get, but nobody told me at this stage about how you kick your legs and how you get the blood flowing and how you come out and how you do this. So I came out, hauled myself up, got out of this water with a little bit of help from the staff because really I had no legs. And I went up to eventually to the bike, and I'm thinking, how am I even going to get on my bike? course, I'd forgotten about getting the wetsuit off, as I said before. 7.5 minutes. I had a little audience, a little family who were saying, "Go on, lady, you can do it." And when I actually got it off and got on my bike, they cheered. Just wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so and the bike ride was okay. It was cold and the bike wasn't very comfortable. And yes, I think I came last or next to last. But I tell you, again, you think that should have been a negative, but it was totally the opposite. Just remembering that family cheering me on,
Mm,
and also the feeling of achievement. I'd actually done this thing in this cold water, um, but also all that support. You suddenly think, this is a nice community. It's like the
mm.
running community. Everybody helps. So that was that one. That was my start of the knowledge of age group.
Sure.
So I'm so glad I did that before I went to Dorney,
Mm,
although Dorney was a lot easier and a lot pleasanter than the river. I mean, St. Neots was very nice, nothing wrong with St. Neots, but Dorney was a little easier for those of us who are less confident with their swimming.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's experience as well, isn't it? Knowing all these things. Your first time's always a,
Oh,
oh,
yes,
panic and whatever.
yes,
And then as soon as you speak to people and like you said, they give you help
totally.
and you learn hints and tips from others and
That's right.
and as you progress, it gets easier and you end up finding yourself giving other people advice and we were just starting, but it's just the
Oh,
journey, isn't it?
yes,
We're all on that journey and we're all learning all the time.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly so. Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What was next then after Mexico? What happened?
After Mexico, I left America shortly after Mexico in 2018 and returned to England to be near my grandchildren. Um, and at that stage, I'd learned about duathlons.
Ah,
And so I was just 70, and that was my year. And, it'd been quite tough leaving America. I won't go into details.
sure.
Um, so I ended up in my daughter's loft in Bristol. Um, and I thought, right. And I'd always wanted to do athletics. So I went to the World Athletics in Malaga. But my first thing, the first achievement was going to, I managed to qualify for the Worlds at Finn.
Okay.
Now, I had no expectations, believe you me. I bought a bike about 3 weeks before and shunted it over there. Again, I really didn't know anybody because it was slightly different people that do
Different group,
athlons.
isn't it? Duathlon to triathlon. There is a bit of crossover, but not a
Yeah,
great deal.
yeah, yeah. Um, but again, I got to Finn, absolutely terrified, thinking all you've got to do is get round, all you could do is get round. And I didn't have to swim. That was wonderful. Um, and but I mean, I'd looked at the opposition as one does. I know people say, "Well, I never look," but I do look. And there was an Italian lady and a German lady, and they were amazing. I mean, their times were utterly amazing. So I thought, well, if I was really lucky, I could crawl in at the third, but I never, that would be a dream. And I did something with all these young people were helping me, and in Finn, the transition was downstairs,
Hmm.
under sort of in an old car park or something like that.
Hmm.
And all the young people say, "Come on, we've got to go and check out the transition." And they made us walk 3 or 4 times through the transition and this, that, and the other. And that was my winning because I cycled well, I ran well, so I got one of them on the run. And then as I was coming back, the German lady overtook me. I don't know what happened to the Italian lady. And we came into transition, and she went completely the wrong way. And I just knew exactly where I was going because the youngsters had taken me around
Yeah, yeah.
several times. Make sure you know where you're going in transition. What a lesson. I mean, that I ended up winning. I got a
Wow.
gold medal. I
Wow.
mean, I had never had, I mean, I'll tell you what, look here. I don't know whether you can see on there. That's my photo
Nice.
of me getting my gold medal. And I shall never forget that moment, not as long as I live.
What an achievement.
Oh, it's just, I can't describe that feeling. It's just like being in this big bubble of joy and happiness, and everybody's so happy for you. And so it goes on. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
And so, yeah, so
Yeah,
that was absolutely brilliant,
yeah,
and I loved it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And well deserved it, because like you've persevered, and you move from triathlon to duathlon, and I always say that you've got to play to your strengths, and you've obviously done
Yes,
that because it's the running that's your strongest part of your sport. So
that's true.
and
Yeah,
and you've reaped the rewards, haven't you?
I have, I have.
Yeah, brilliant.
I love it.
So do I. I love it. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So what was next?
So after that, well, basically, I didn't do much. I was going to go to Pontevedra, but I was ill, so I couldn't tackle that one. I had to back out the following year. And then, of course, we had lockdown and all that kind of business.
Mhm.
Um, and then I got interested in doing, I'm a little bit of a, I get a little bored. I always have to have a different challenge here or there.
Mhm.
Always have had, and there we go. Um, so I thought, "Oh, I'll try a standard duathlon because I haven't done one of those." So my friend and I trained, and we went for a standard duathlon, and I went to Grafham and did it there and qualified.
Well done.
So then I set off in, where are we now? 2023, that would have been. And I went to do the standard duathlon in, no, I did this, I did the sprint duathlon oh yeah, I did the sprint duathlon in Romania where I did an extra lap. So
Oh.
I just missed the bronze medal. People go on about triathlons, and it was a bit of a, they'd changed the course rather late in the day. But I mean, it's our responsibility
Mm.
to do it and to count. And, so I just thought, oh, damn, there we are. But it was still all about taking part and being with all these lovely people. So I didn't get a medal, so fine. Um, yes, so then after that, I worked hard, and then this year, so I did, oh gosh, I'm sorry, my memory's gone now. I did that, and I did the standard duathlon, the European standard duathlon, and where I met and got to know very well Yvonne Twelvetree. Um, oh gosh, I, her name's gone out of my head and I've forgotten. Um, oh heavens above, what is her name? I've got it written down somewhere, so because I
All right.
know I'll forget something.
That's
Oh,
fine.
Elspeth Knott. How could I forget? So Elspeth and Yvonne were also doing standard duathlons, and I learned more from them than you can learn from most people. I mean, again, this whole supportive community, and just wonderful. And I've met them at everyone ever since. And
Mm.
it's like, long time friends. Um, and so I came third in Bilbao, which
Well
was
done.
which was wonderful. To Elspeth and Yvonne. So we had a nice little
It was a
trio
clean
there.
sweep.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant.
And yes, so then following on from there, I decided I wanted to go in my new age group. The following year, I was going to aim for the world's standard duathlon.
Mm.
And I have a coach, Andy Wadsworth,
Okay.
from BW Cycling in Bristol, and he helped to really pull me up to par, help me with biking and everything. Um, so I did the European and I won that one, and then I had Ibiza. And again, it's just one of those amazing times. I mean, it was hot, it was hard, we were all nervous, but I won it.
Wow.
And I mean, I just sobbed when I got to the end because I'd worked so hard to get to that point.
Mm.
Um, yeah, aren't I lucky?
No, it's no, you're not lucky at all. It's putting yourself out there, isn't it? And taking those opportunities, and just being in the mix and doing the hard work. It's not about luck. There's not. I mean,
Uh, there's an element of luck. There's
Yeah,
an
but you've
element of
you've
luck
got to
with
you've put
all these
yourself in
things.
that environment, haven't you? At the end of the day,
Yes.
you took that chance. You've decided that you're going to go for a standard duathlon, which can I say is one of the hardest races out there
Yeah.
because it's all right. It's not full pelt, but you're pretty much going as hard as you can. 10K, 40K, 5K. You know, it's
Okay.
it's not. It's yeah. At least
Yeah.
on a tri standard, you've got the swim that it breaks it up a bit. But there's no forgiveness in the standard duathlon. So there's
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, you see,
yeah.
then now, because of course now I've got to try to do a standard triathlon.
Well, I think you should find all right. The swims,
The
not the
swim will be a
strongest,
nightmare.
but at the
But
end of the day, it won't be. I don't think you'll find it as hard because of
really,
yeah, because you've already done the hardest thing. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day with it was Geraint Thomas's podcast, the
oh
cyclist,
yes, yeah.
and he had Lucy Charles Barkley on. Now, Geraint, when he retires, he wants to do a triathlon. He wants to do an Ironman. So he was picking Lucy's brains about it, and she said, "Well, he's an all right swimmer, and he's obviously fantastic on the bike, and his running's not too bad." She said, "But you could always do a duathlon." She said, "But to be honest, duathlons, and this is her words, not mine, duathlons are harder than triathlons." So there
Oh
you go.
my gosh,
And this is what I've always said, 100%. Duathlons are harder than triathlons. So
right.
you've picked, for me, I think you've picked one of the hardest disciplines to conquer. So well done for that.
Oh well, thank you for that. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've just loved it. I mean, I love the training. I do love the training.
And did you, because obviously sprint triathlons and duathlons are drafting generally, and
Hmm.
standard aren't drafting. Did you have to get a new bike and a TT bike? Have you
No,
not?
no, and I don't wear clip-ons. I
No.
I have a road bike.
Yeah.
I bought a new bike, but not because my old one was any particularly bad, but because um, my hands were finding it hard with the brakes.
Right.
So I got a disc brake
Yeah.
bike, so I could brake more readily, which
Yeah.
is comforting. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat on the bike. I go down quite slowly on
Well,
the hill.
again, it's one of those things, isn't it? If you
Oh,
if you've not done a lot of it and you're not used to it, it's quite
mm,
daunting, especially in
mm,
race
mm,
situations as well.
mm.
So, yeah.
But the nice thing about it is, and the thing I love, is the fact now I've got my swimming and I can work on getting that better.
Mm.
And I've just discovered a cycle training thing in Bath where they take you round and round and do turns and things.
Cool.
And so I'm going to give that a go.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it'll hopefully improve my cycling.
yeah.
I mean, when you see Elspeth and Yvonne, I mean, I beat them both on the run. I mean, I'm just much better on the run. Um, and then I'm waiting, and each time I race against them, I try and put off seeing them overtake me a little bit longer each
Yeah, yeah,
time. But I
yeah.
know they're going to come zooming past me.
Mm.
Fortunately, they're not in my age group yet.
That's a blessing. Well, you
That's
might
right.
be. Well, I was going to say you might be able to draft if there were, but then standard, you're not allowed to draft. So
I'm
that's
I'm not much good at drafting. As I say, I can't. And normally, because I don't cycle very fast, if somebody comes past and they say, jump in behind them, they're gone before I've got
yeah.
anywhere near it. So drafting, I know how to do it, but I've never really. So if people talk about, oh, we need to be able to draft, I think, no, no, it's fine, thank you.
And so you've qualified for Portugal as well.
I'm going to the Europeans in Portugal,
Yeah.
and I'm going to what was Malaga and is now Torremolinos.
Torremolinos, yeah, yeah, yeah.
For my I've got to finish a sprint triathlon, haven't I? I mean, I can't leave Mexico.
No,
It's been niggling.
unfinished business.
Unfinished business, you've got it. So that's what I'm working at.
Fab.
So by October, um, I'm working at that. So it's my swimming will be the thing, and my biking I've got to get better as well. But if it was all good, I mean, you've got to always have something hanging in front of you. And that's the joy to me of all sport,
Mm.
that you're always trying to make a little improvement. I mean, okay, as we get older, we get slower, so on and so forth. But so does everybody else in our age group. So that's okay.
Mm.
Um, but all the time you're trying to, shave a bit off here and do a bit there. And it's wonderful to have that challenge.
Yeah.
And as a single person, to go off, these are my holidays.
Hmm.
Every time I go, I meet all these amazing people. There's all these lovely ladies and gentlemen, and it's like a whole new family. You don't
Yeah.
see them for months, and then you turn up in some country. Oh, hello. Oh,
Yeah.
hello. And oh, where are we eating? Oh, yes, okay. And it, I mean, they're all just wonderful, and so it's and they're also interesting. You learn so much from them about all sorts of things. But I just love the community, and that's what really grips you. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what I do, as long as I finish in
Mm.
Malaga, in Torremolinos, um, I'll be happy. That's what I've got to do. I'll try for more, but the main thing is to be with all those people again. I mean, mm,
Fabulous. Fabulous.
it-
Well, good luck with it all. And
thank
I'm
you.
sure you will finish in Torremolinos. And hopefully we might see you over in Portugal.
You
Um,
will.
my wife's racing. I haven't qualified, but my wife's qualified. So we're going to go over. So hopefully
Wonderful.
we'll be able to see you and support you. Is it standard you're doing over there?
I'm doing the standard, yeah.
Standard duathlon, yeah. Well, good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great place to start um, with the quick fire questions.
Oh, okay, yes.
And the first one is, what's your favourite bit of kit?
Oh, I reckon my running shoes.
Right. Okay.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
And why is that?
Because that's my sport,
Yeah.
and the new fast Nikes, you see, because I don't wear cleats,
Sure.
I have them on already. So I'm off the bike and my
Yeah.
shoes are there and off I go. So
And
I
what
think that's,
Nikes have you got?
oh, I don't know what they're, Nike
Ah, so
Fly, something like that. Right.
excellent. Excellent. A week of training, what does that look like?
A week of training. Okay. Um, Well, I sort of have two lots coming in together that sometimes have to be shuffled around a bit.
Yeah.
I have at least one or two. I often have. Let me just stop again. I have my bike riding, but that, of course, has been quite difficult with the
Yeah.
rain and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
normally, I would have at least one bike ride, or I get on. I've got the turbo in front of the television in the
Yeah.
front.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I'm stuck, I can just sit and do it on there. So Andy Wadsworth gives me um, oversight of all my duathlon stuff, and he gives me swimming workouts. So I try to do at least 2 swims a week,
Yeah.
um, along with the ones I do with my grandchildren. So I have that. I normally I have hill running every fortnight, hill training. I have speed work every other fortnight. And then I have a mixture of long runs and short runs and easy runs and what have you. But it's all, I'm very lucky because the running coach and Andy, they're very flexible. And some days, I just feel like doing masses, and another day I don't feel like doing very much at all. So
Yeah.
I pick and choose and switch
Yeah.
them around. But
And it's
I have to have one rest day a week.
sure. Yeah. And
So
it's great,
that's when
isn't
I
it?
work on the allotment.
Oh, nice. Nice. Growing your own food. Excellent.
Yep, I do. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm a gardener. Um,
Ah, oh
so
well,
and
we better
we've got
stop this conversation now because.
we've got raised beds as well, and we grow our own
Oh
food.
yes. Oh, I've got a
So
polytunnel.
oh,
Oh,
have you? Oh, you're
oh, I've got a
serious?
polytunnel on my allotment.
Serious? Yeah. Nice.
Jealous, aren't you?
I am very jealous. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous.
Mhm.
Um, so that yeah, I mean that's good. You've just and you've got to listen to your body, haven't you? That's the thing. If
Yes,
you don't feel like doing
yes,
it, then
yeah,
don't do
yeah,
it. You know,
yeah.
I just said to Kate, my wife, um, she's had a really busy week, and I've drew her up a plan because she's going to try and qualify up in Edinburgh at the end of March, and
Right.
um, she'd missed a session. I said, look, forget about the missed session. Don't try and catch up. Just crack on with the rest of it and just do that. You know,
Mm,
you've got to give yourself some grace and allow yourself to, breathe and
mm,
not get all flustered about missing things or,
mm.
you just got to, we do this for fun at the end of the day, don't we?
That's right. Yeah.
So, so yeah,
I have to
brilliant.
say that's why I love having Andy as my coach because at one time, I basically stopped running, panic. And he said, no, no, you'll keep the fitness on the bike, but you're not going to pound, and you need to have that rest. And it was hard to do as I was told, but I did. And he was absolutely right, because my 10K time didn't alter one jot with 3 months of hardly doing any running.
Yeah. But
So I learned from that a
you don't,
tremendous
you
amount.
don't believe it though, do you? You don't believe
You
it's not
don't.
gonna, you think it's just gonna go boom, straight
Yes.
down.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
gonna lose
Yeah.
so much time, fitness, that's it. You can't not. But it
That's
doesn't
it.
doesn't work like that.
No, no, no.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Uh, so you've got a coach, like you said.
Yeah.
What advice would you give for anybody wanting to try and get into triathlon?
Just take a deep breath and say to yourself, nobody's caring about this except for me. Go have a shot. I mean, I feel that if I can do it, anybody can. Um, and I'm surprised now. I see these very strong women. I had one say to me the other day, she was going to do a triathlon, how nervous she was. She was doing a sprint triathlon. I thought, she's an excellent swimmer. She rides a bike. Why is she nervous? But of course you are. But that's what it's all about. Um, and really, I think if you want to do it, you've just got to be bold. And I think a lot of us aren't. And I think possibly getting older helped me, because I remember seeing some triathletes when I was in my 50s. And I thought, oh my God, aren't they amazing? They were at the gym I was working out at, and I talked to them. God, never in my mind, never would I have thought I would do a triathlon, would never have entered my head. And I think what we all do to some extent is that when we're faced with something new, we turn it into something much bigger than it is.
Mm.
If you split it down into its little bits, take a deep breath and go have some fun, because it is fun. That's what I would say to people. Just be prepared to put your head on the line. That's neck on the line, is it? Something like that anyway, some silly phrase.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Mm.
that's I mean, it's so true. It's I mean, I couldn't have said it any better myself. It's just it is. Just go and have a go. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And finally, what are your short and long-term goals? Well, I guess we've discussed your short-term goals this season, haven't we? So
Yeah, well, yeah. My long term, and I haven't really admitted this to anybody much yet, but I have a great desire to do a half Ironman. So I think that's that's partly why I want to do a standard triathlon this year, because I think if I can manage to swim in the standard triathlon, maybe next year I could do a half Ironman. Um, yeah, I mean, isn't it funny? I'm saying have a go. I'm terrified.
yeah,
And I don't know why, because as I say, if I'm in a wetsuit, I'm not going to drown. So as long as I get to the end of the swim, get on the bike, I'm okay. But notice I haven't done it this year. I've said, no, no, I'll do it next year. So that's my long-term goal. That's for next year.
yeah.
Watch
Well,
this
no,
space.
it's and the thing is, don't put yourself under any pressure. If you don't do it next year, that's the goal, isn't it? That's where you do it when you're ready.
Yes, the thing is, though, at my age, you're a little bit wary of that. The fact, I mean, I think life is fantastic. I am having an absolute ball. If everybody knew that being 70 odd was so wonderful, they'll all be rushing to grow old. Um, But I am aware of the fact that life is limited, and I'm reaching the upper echelon, so on. So I do want to get on with it. I don't want to be injured. I mean, it only takes one fall off the bike, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that is a driving force with me, but that's no bad thing.
yeah. Good. I'm sure
Yeah,
you'll do it. Look
I
how
hope
far
so.
you've
I'll let
come.
you know.
You will.
And
You
now I've told you. Ah,
yes, you put it out there now.
I've put it out there now, haven't I?
No
Yeah.
pressure.
It is, but what a nice picture.
Well, it's been lovely to speak to you and
And you, I've thoroughly
did you
enjoyed
hear?
myself.
Good. I'm glad that because that's what it's all about. And hear your
Yeah,
story. It's been
yeah.
you're amazing. You are amazing. And don't let
I'm
anybody say
just,
any different. You are amazing.
oh, okay. All right. I just love it. I mean, I do honestly feel that I'm just very blessed. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people would love to do what I do and they can't for various reasons, and so I thank my lucky stars. Yeah,
Right, I shall let you go and enjoy the rest of the evening.
I will. Yep, yep. I'm off at my 100th park run tomorrow, so
Oh, well done.
there we
Fabulous.
are.
Well,
There we
hope
are.
the
Thank
weather's
you so
kind.
much.
No
Thank you,
worries. Lovely to meet you.
and you.
Take
Thank you.
care. Bye.
Bye.
So thank you once again to Anne for sharing that fantastic story. How can you not be inspired by that? 75 to 79 age group and still going strong and learning as she goes. Amazing. Even more amazing is that she didn't start till she was 55 and she'd been a heavy smoker and realised that she needed to change her life around. It's just, and look what she's done in those 20 years. It's just amazing. Like I said, I just can't keep saying how amazing it is enough. People like Anne really do inspire. Um, and so, if Anne's story has inspired you and you are an age grouper, why don't you get in touch and come on the pod and share your journey and inspire others? We're always looking for guests. DM us on our social media channels, which will be coming up in a minute. Yeah, and just share your story, inspire others, because that's what we're all about here on the Age Group Multisport podcast. And I'd really appreciate it if you could just follow us on all social media and spread the word about to your community, whether it's people who are into try already or people who are looking to get into it. Send them in our direction and show them what can be done by all these fantastic stories that we've got on the podcast. And like I said earlier, if you've got any videos that you'd like to put up on our YouTube channel to inspire others about your training or racing, DM us or get in touch via email and send them across and we'll put them up. And that's about it for this episode. Thank you ever so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. And if you'd like to get in touch, just drop us an email, the Age Group Multisport Podcast at gmail.com. We're on Instagram at amp_1967. We're on Facebook at ampgb, on X at the Age Group Multisport Podcast, and finally YouTube at ampgb. And so have a good week, and remember, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.